When we left off, we were right at the end of the Roman Empire, or to be more specific, the end of the Western Roman Empire. The Eastern Roman Empire carried on for quite a long time, but that doesn't have a direct link to Western theater, so we're going to ignore it. The official date given to the fall of the Roman Empire is 476 AD. That doesn't mean that one day there was a Roman Empire and the next there wasn't. Civilizations tend to decline and wither away over time. We have instance of a theatrical performance in the city of Rome in 553 AD. There may have been plays after that, but that's the last one we know of. So that's an indication that even after the empire fell, certain parts of it remained intact for a while. Now, I mentioned this before, but among other things, a government protects citizens, protects trade routes, allows people to safely farm larger and larger areas. A government provides stability, and stability usually leads to an increase in education and an increase in the arts. You can think of the fall of the Roman Empire as a time when these protections and stability collapsed. This led to a power vacuum. The only organized form of control was offered by the church. Some semblance of order was maintained in places where prior to the fall the church was strong, but in general civilization collapsed. Education came to a standstill. Monks and nuns were still being educated by the church, but the regular population received no education. During times like this, many people turned to pagan religions and pagan beliefs. It makes sense in that common people are more and more cut off and more reliant on the seasons and on nature. Theater during this time is all but dead. Common people have little use for theater when they're struggling just to live. The church had left theater weak near the end of the Roman Empire, and now, in church-controlled area, theater was not at all welcome. The Dark Ages lasted for 500 to 700 years. There is little evidence of theater during the first half of this. There's a little evidence of some wandering troupes of entertainers, but nothing like scripted drama. In the video you will watch, the man says there is little evidence as to why theater died. However, I think the evidence is fairly strong. The church did its best to drive the nail into theater's coffin. That, along with the fact that theater really only does well when civilization is stable, and there is little reason for theater to do anything but die. Now, somewhere in the 10th century A.D., the church had started to gain more and more power. Some areas had become somewhat civilized, not large areas, but smaller kingdoms, and it is during this time that the church is trying to bring people who have more and more pagan beliefs into the church. It was difficult to get common, uneducated people to understand the Bible and church teachings. The people certainly couldn't read the Bible. So at this time the church started performing plays, little skits, little sections of Bible stories. This would both educate and entertain the common people and help draw them into the church. The first example we have of this type of entertainment is during an Easter festival. It is called the Quem Quertus, and if you speak fluent Latin, please, I apologize for my pronunciation. The entire text is in your book on page 64. Whom seeks you in tomb, O Christians, Jesus of Nazareth, the crucified? O heavenly beings, he is not here. He is risen as foretold. Go and announce that he is risen from the tomb. If you look near the bottom of page 64, you'll see that we name a playwright, Hradzvita. She lived from 935 to 1002, and she is the first playwright in post-classical Western Europe. The first playwright that we know of writing full dramas after the fall of Rome. She is also the first example of a female playwright, and she is also the first feminist playwright. Not feminist in a modern sense, but in the period she was a little radical. So then the Dark Ages lead to the Middle Ages, the medieval period. Depending on your source, this is sometime during the period from 1050 to 1575. Some places got there faster and moved on faster. Some places, like England, got there later, and the medieval period hung on for longer. During this time, there is the development of mystery plays, miracle plays, and morality plays. These names are somewhat misleading, but they're what we're stuck with. Mystery plays deal with the life of Christ, stories from the Old Testament. Miracle plays deal with the lives of saints, and morality plays are allegories that deal with every man and about the 7 virtues and 7 deadly sins. The 7 deadly sins were dealt with in the movie Seven, if anybody's seen that. Pride, lust, anger, covetousness, gluttony, envy, and sloth. Less familiar are their virtues: prudence, justice, temperance, fortitude, faith, hope, and charity. Faith, hope, and charity are somewhat known because they're women's names. Prudence, temperance, and fortitude have also been used as girl names. I don't know about justice. So then, late in the Middle Ages was the Reformation. It was a backlash against the Catholic Church. In England, the Reformation gained lots of favor when Henry VIII wanted to get divorced, which was forbidden by the Catholic Church. And so he renounced Catholicism and started the Church of England. From that point on, anything that was remotely Catholic was forbidden in England. Since mystery and miracle plays had been performed under the auspices of the Catholic Church, they pretty much ceased being performed. Morality plays, which dealt with religion in a far more general, less dogmatic sense, could be performed. It's important in theater history that Henry VIII used theater and the arts as a form of propaganda. He was all for any kind of arts that led people to believe that it was all right for him to divorce and all right for England to break from the Catholic Church. He actually helped the rise of theater during the medieval period, which sets the stage for the greatest period of theater since the ancient Greeks, the Elizabethan age, the age of Shakespeare, which we'll get to soon. Okay, that's all.